I'm gonna be fully honest with you. I have yet to watch Bel Air.
I
All
watched
right.
it.
Well, we're not
I've been
talking about
watching
it
it.
this week. Have you been watching it? Not
Yeah,
bad, eh?
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Really?
exactly. You guys watch
Yeah,
the OC? Did you ever watch the OC?
no,
OC. What's OC?
you're
It's like a girly show, right? But this is like a
Okay,
much
okay.
cooler. Like
Okay.
yeah,
this is so
you're
cooler.
losing your man card.
One of the characters from the OC married that quarterback, and they got
I
their own
have no,
show.
no, I
I
have no
remember
idea.
that. I think
I'm just
this
that's the
this rings
vibe
a
of the
bell.
show I get.
This rings a bell because I remember we were watching this guy. Who was the quarterback on the Chicago Bears when they were good? Cutler?
What?
Jay
No, I
Cutler.
know.
Okay.
So Jay
Okay.
Cutler married this chick. Was the OC a reality show?
No, it was
Oh, then I have no idea what I'm talking about. Never
like all
mind.
the girls in university would watch it. That's all I remember.
So that's how you got in with them, eh? That was your in.
Hey, it's a good thing your wife doesn't listen to the podcast.
All the time, man.
Anyways,
What's crazy though? She actually asked me to. They think her and her friends want to make a podcast, and I'm like, clearly they're not listening to the production value of our podcast because
buddy, are you kidding me? Our production quality is on point.
look at my
Now
look
we
at my
got
camera.
video.
Look at
Listen,
my camera.
it took us 3 weeks to get you from calling us on a satellite phone from India.
Now I got
This
a
is-
studio. I'm good, man. I'm getting there. Don't worry.
Swear to
Next
God,
week,
you're
bud.
ready to like do a full-on interview.
Yo,
You-
literally, I was about
This
to
guy-
order.
yo.
You know the sound panels on
Yeah.
Amazon. It's like 60 of them. I was about to get them just plastered and make it
Only
look all
man,
proper.
you got a friggin' proper fade for this thing. That's dedication.
This is work.
This guy went got a fade. He's like on
just
point.
just for the podcast.
Bought a
Just for the
webcam, put it on a bit of an angle, picked his good side.
Yeah, it's weird because you're not even looking at us. It's like
I'm looking at the screen.
I'm like an unwanted lover. Look me in the eye, Robbie.
I don't know.
There you go. Oh, that Ferrari. That was Ferrari.
Oh, yo, the Netflix show's out too. The
the
F1.
F1?
I heard the
Oh, I
season
didn't
came
even.
out.
I haven't watched it yet.
I gotta get on that. So much TV, man.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about? It's about nothing. It's about nothing.
Just want these guys to know you got another thing coming, bitch. I'm still around.
Anyways, my name is Shinda Singh. I'm joined today by
So we're doing intros.
Someone told me I got feedback. I've been getting feedback. You guys don't get feedback?
Seriously, from our two listeners, thank you. I'm gonna thank them.
They're like, look, man, your show is great. Introduce who you guys are because I don't know. I'm like, I've never
Right.
really done introductions. And I'm
if
like,
they
No,
listen to us enough, they'll know, right?
that's what I
let's do
figured.
it. Let's do it. I want to introduce us. I want to know how you would introduce us.
How do I?
Yeah, let me
Well,
hear.
I'm
Let me
Shinda.
hear, Shinda.
Is it-
I'm the illustrious and noble Shinda, the most honorable man on the show. Top right corner. Wow. We're on video now. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Joined by the ever balding Ranjit and Mr. Fresh Fade over here. I still got a full head of hair.
Fresh.
Fresh Fade. I got a full head of hair. Doctor. I don't know what name you want me to give you for you because you're the one who's
Just Rob or Rod is fine. You don't.
All
I
right,
don't know why you gotta
Dr.
throw the doctor thing in there.
just to put a bit of an elitist curve to it. And that way, when you say something like,
Hold on, you didn't call Ranji Esquire. You should have said something Esquire.
No, lawyers don't do the douchebag shit
Are you
that
sure? Yeah.
doctors do. Yeah,
Oh yeah, really?
yeah.
Except buy Rolexes and expensive suits.
No,
and
doctors do
cars.
that too, but they also make sure everybody knows they're doctors.
so yeah, man, we're the Three Stooges, and we're here for your entertainment as we
that-
navigate
Is that the name of the podcast now?
the Three Stooges. No, I thought it was Samosa Politics.
That's what I was going for. I think you should put it out there, see what people think.
Yeah, so we're thinking about changing the name of the podcast from Much Ado About Nothing to Samosa Politics. We're gonna take it back.
Can we do? Yeah, we'll do a Twitter poll maybe this week.
I mean, no one really pays attention to our Twitter. We got like 200 people on it, and I swear to God,
Our three listeners are important, okay?
you know how down we are? The only people who retweet our tweets about new episodes are me and Ranji. Rob, Dr. Rob over here, has yet to like or acknowledge the Twitter even exists.
Or he doesn't even listen to the episodes after.
This guy- he
I
doesn't.
think I'd listen to the last one for the audio just to make sure it was
just to
fine.
see what his audio was like, not even what we talked about. Yeah, so no, one of the reasons we want to go for a name change is just SEO, really. Much Ado About Nothing. So many different podcast pop. It's hard to find us. I feel like Samosa Politics. We're taking it back from that friggin' CBC guy,
From Terry.
Terry. You know
Chef Terry.
the whole Terry is Ned Flanders thing is every time I think Terry now I think Ned Flanders. Like that's the face that comes to mind. Someone made a meme account during the whole Terry versus Six thing where it was like Ned Flanders and then like Terry M. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. So Samosa Politics is up in the air. Three Stooges, I guarantee you someone already has that podcast name.
That must be out there.
That seems pretty cool. So if you guys have any thoughts on us changing our name, or do we just keep it Much Ado About Nothing and just accept that that's who we are, and we're gonna own this brand and try to make it the number one Much Ado About Nothing podcast out there? Let us know. But anyways, man, what you guys been up to? And what's going on in the world?
Well, this is a big week for us. So I want to say we're doing video for the first time. Shinda is telling us that he's gonna put the video up. We always record with webcams and all that.
I mean,
but
look, do you guys even know that we have an actual YouTube channel that's up and running? You did not know that, did you? We have 14 subscribers, and I bet you neither of you were subscribed to it.
I've subscribed to it.
All right, bless.
I have not.
Dick.
Look, my camera's flickering. I'm not the most
You're not the most video conscious.
video. Yeah.
And I didn't realize we were doing video today. Luckily, my office was nice and clean, kind of.
So we're doing video, and we have a guest who's having a hard time joining. So while me and Robbie carry the show, Shinda, why don't you look at my comments? Thank you.
Why can't Daddy join? Is he doing audio only?
He's trying to get in, but he can't scroll down in Discord past AFK. Nothing shows up. He sent me a video of his screen.
You probably haven't given him access. That's why.
Does he see Yo? Tell him to jump in Yo. I'll drag him in.
Okay. Done.
So should we talk about what's going on in the world first before we bring him in?
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
Go for it.
All right, just tell him to hang out in Yo, and then I'll drag him down once we're ready. The waiting room. So yeah.
Oh.
The world is at war.
Mother Russia.
Why did it get awkward?
Putin Jut.
Putin.
All right, so Yo, can someone explain why Ukraine and Russia are beefing?
That's complicated. I mean, does anyone have an opinion on it, or?
I do, but my opinion is based on what our guest is going to say. So I'm going to kind of leave it at him. I actually work in a place where we have Ukrainians and Russians working side by side, and they...
that must be interesting right now.
Yeah, now especially.
I'm going to drag our buddy in, but I'm going to have him muted so he can hear our conversation but can't participate until we unmute him.
Right.
Sounds good. So my... I think my opinion of it is kind of that... I think it's more based on NATO.
Hold on. I'm asking your opinion. I asked why are they beefing because I have no idea.
Who knows?
Nobody fucking knows.
Really?
I'm assuming it's NATO because I know they wanted to join NATO in the summer.
So that's my impression is that this is
a big game. It's a big game of risk, right? So putting your troops in and what you want in pipelines. I don't know, and who knows?
That was my understanding. Is Russia wasn't down with Ukraine joining NATO because they don't want NATO at its borders like that. They want kind of a buffer around them.
Yeah, well, NATO hadn't joined, right? So NATO was planning. Ukraine hadn't joined, and then I think in this summer that just passed, they had acknowledged with this new government they're a bit pro-West, so they were pulling on joining NATO and leaning towards more to the European Union. Not sure why that calls for an invasion, but yeah, that's I would think the reasoning.
He's kind of done this before. Like I
Crimea,
think, yeah. Well, that was 2014, but before that, I think this is like second or third invasion of a country since like fucking 98 or something like that. I'm obviously a professional geopolitical expert now because I've been on 24 hours on Twitter and just watching everything. So,
the last 6 years,
hold on, Fox News or CNN?
No, just Twitter. Just Twitter. So unbiased. I'm sitting in my echo chamber of
so you got an MBA
Ukraine good, Ukraine good, and Russia bad.
I ain't gonna lie. I watched Fox News last night for them to just listening to them blame Biden for everything was hilarious.
Oh, he is fucking horrible.
I was listening.
Well, Putin could do no wrong, right? They're like, oh, it's all Biden's fault.
So I try to keep my accounts balanced. So I have a lot of like hard right wing conservatives that I follow. Not like the crazy guys, just like enough to get a glimpse of the crazy chamber. And then I have like the hard lefties that I get a glimpse of the hard left crazy chamber. and then I just have my chamber of complete nonsense in between. One thing that I heard that kind of made me laugh is a hard right was Trump went up to Putin. Jagmeet actually tweeted he called him Putin. He spelled it out Putin, and people were calling him out that.
He got shit on for that. Yeah, his comp seems really fucked up.
Yeah, so Putin, the hard right was like Trump went up to Putin in their first meeting, and he said, "You better not fuck with America while I'm president." And he said the same thing to the Chinese president. And look, they didn't fuck with him. So I don't know how much that's true, but the fact that they think that's true is amazing to me, because I don't believe that to be true. He couldn't get a sentence done in any of his. You think he's crazy enough to go up to Putin and tell him to like?
Well, I thought the Russians had something on him. Wasn't that the whole thing?
I thought he was working for the Russians because they have.
So it looked like it. Yeah. It looked like it, but I mean, to be fair, maybe he was just showed strong force to start, and then Putin and Russia was nice to him. Same with North Korea. So fuck, maybe the left wing media is always going to say, "Oh no, he's pandering to them. That's why they're being nice and playing nice." And they want him to be in power because he's such a puppet, blah, blah, blah. But maybe it was his tough guy act at the start that did the trick, because he might think this guy's a nut job and he might actually press the big red button. So this is not the guy to play politics with, because he doesn't fucking understand it, right?
Well, there's also that thing. Remember, I don't know if you guys Ice Cube in that one movie. I'm going to keep saying references that I can't freaking actually finish because my brain's just fried right now. But even in Fresh Prince, when Will Smith's like, look, if you go up to the bully and you got to just act crazy and they're not going to fuck with you. Maybe that was Trump. They didn't know if he was acting crazy or if he was legit crazy. That they're like, look, if we step on this guy's toe, he might like launch nukes at us. Let's just leave him alone. We don't know where the fuck his head's at.
But it's crazy. I mean, we're only getting like really one perspective, right? It's like what we all think, or the Western perspective. I think the guest here is going to talk about the Russian perspective. Is that the kind of thought process?
That's all I've been hearing at work at the office. So he'll definitely bring a fresh perspective that we don't see. Because in Canada, like, let's be fair, the Conservative Party, Liberal Party, and the NDP, they're all basically saying the same thing: support Ukraine, maybe hold signs, and that's about it. Like, everybody has a pretty shitty foreign policy with these like jerk off sanctions that don't actually do shit.
The sanction thing is kind of interesting because one, I don't understand. Like, I'm not an economist, so when they say sanctions, I'm just like, so they're gonna stop their money. So I understand there's this thing called SWIFT. I don't even know what SWIFT means, but they also
it's the way essentially it's the way money moves around.
Okay, right? So they're just like, we're not going to
between countries.
Currencies.
Yeah, so if they don't let them use the SWIFT system, then they can't finish their contracts for oil and gas. I mean,
right, because there's no such thing that Bitcoin these days, right?
No, but then they also said the whole thing of, and this is, someone sent me a link there, and this is my life, and they're like, yo, if you want a better understanding, read this economist. He's a great read, puts a lot of stuff out. And he's like, these sanctions don't mean shit because they exempt oil and energy, which is Russia's major export or whatever, with the US and stuff. So they're like, this is going to annoy Russia, but it's not going to hurt them. And so I was like, well, then what's the point of sanctions if you're not going to fully... And they're like, because countries really don't know how they want to approach this, because NATO itself isn't really ready for war, because Russia... Remember Putin said, like, if you guys fuck with me, I got a friggin' nuke, and I'm ready to use it.
That's fucking badass.
And he straight up said that in a press conference. Like, what the fuck?
He can do whatever the fuck he wants. But before we get our guests on, for the three of us, Team Russia, Team Ukraine, Robbie, go.
What, we're picking teams?
Yeah, right now. Let's go. On the spot, gun to the head.
Ukraine.
Shinde?
I gotta go Ukraine, man. Yellow, blue, they seem like they're the underdog here.
Yeah, I'm fucking going with Ukraine too, especially the way their fucking politicians are stepping up.
One thing I gotta friggin' put out right now. The way the friggin' Klitschkov, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Brothers, the box brothers, yeah.
They're like, you'll fucking pick out their guns. And they pull that shit off.
Those are jut moves right there.
Then this guy's the mayor of the city. Imagine fucking Patrick Brown loading up an AK, like, reach Brampton.
No fucking Canadian politician that would do that.
I mean,
Trudeau
boxes.
We'll talk about that after.
All right, so...
Why don't we bring in our guests?
Here, Brad, do you want to introduce our bands?
Yeah.
I'm getting right here.
All right, so I'm going to introduce Danny Perlin. He's a corporate lawyer.
Another one of these Esquires.
He doesn't go by the douchebag Esquire. He's JD, MBA, CFA. So I'm just saying that, not that he would actually say that, I think. But for any fucker out there who thinks they're smarter than him at the end of this, let's just say he's at least book smarter than you. So without further ado, Danny, introduce yourself. Say a couple of words, man.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. How are you?
Jeep's been hyping this up for a while. I've been
Say my
waiting.
name properly, you little.
Ranjit.
Yo, I love this guy already. I love you, Danny. I love this guy already.
he's been promising me this since 2016. So
So you've been on the 5-year wait.
I've been in the waiting room waiting to be introduced for five years now.
Yeah, he usually comes up short, so we do apologize for him.
And when he introduced me as the Russian expert, as if I'm suddenly taking a side here.
Oh no. Let me be fair. In the office, in the debate, you give us the Russian perspective.
I'm giving you what Fox News says is fair and balanced.
Oh, that's what you're gonna color it as. Eh? Okay, all right.
That's their tagline, right? Fox News, fair and balanced.
Fair enough.
I've always felt like
it's the most ironic tagline because I can't really say that the most fair and balanced, but it's a tagline. It works.
And they produce pretty much a fuck you opinion to about everything. But
right.
Go on, contrarian. Answer the question that, to be honest, nobody really understands in Canada. I promise you, nobody understands, other than the talking heads with the blue checks. Why the fuck is Russia going after Ukraine? It makes no sense. They're not a rich country. So what the fuck is going on?
So there's a couple of historical geopolitical considerations to account for, and part of that is the history is. You look at the two nations, like the Ukrainian nation. Forget the states, the nation of the people. Ukrainians and Russians are and they'll actually tell you this. They're extremely similar. It's like the language is I wouldn't say it's the same, but it is extremely
almost
close. And just a little bit more than a dialect. I would say just one step beyond a dialect, but that close. And frankly, in the past 100 years, it was the Soviet Union. So Ukraine was a fundamental component of the Soviet Union, which was Russia, and the second most important country, arguably, was Ukraine. And then, so when Putin says
second out of like how many? Like out of 50? Like USSR was huge,
USSR
right?
was what, 15 countries, right?
But
ultimately, what it means is that they were pivotal in the establishment of the Soviet state and the functioning. So, when Putin says that this was the collapse was a travesty, the biggest travesty of the 20th century. What he's referring to is particularly the loss of Ukraine for Russia, because, he sees it as like, I guess, it's hard to make that comparison because there's always the Nazi Germany comparison, but the one I would say is closest is 1938 when Nazi Germany takes over Austria. And so people, kind of gloss over that because everyone jumps to Poland. But, the Polish nation is far different than, the German nation. They're two different languages, two different people. Germans and Austrians, they both speak German, right? I mean, Hitler was Austrian. So I would say it's if there's a similarity to be had, it's akin to that. But the difference here is that you have nationalist opinions. So a lot of the Ukrainians won't say that they're Russian. In fact, a lot of Ukrainians, most of the Ukrainians that I talk to will say, no, I'm Ukrainian, I'm not Russian, but they don't speak Ukrainian. They
say I'm not Russian. I'm not Russian in Russian, right? That's the funny thing.
right. And so that's the irony here. And I'm not to say that Putin's right. I'm not sure. I don't think it's justifiable what he's doing, but there's a couple of things. I mean, a drift of Ukraine to NATO from his perspective to the West is like a piece of Russia going to the West. That's his mindset. It's a mentality. This guy was an ex-KGB. He was a spy. He was in East Germany when the Soviet Union collapsed, working as a spy. And so to him, that collapse and Ukraine shifting to the West is essentially like, he really feels that it's an attack on Russia. And, he wants spheres of influence. You guys made a great point about sanctions. What are sanctions going to do? They tried this in 2014 to impose sanctions, and this didn't happen overnight. He's had this plan. He is a calculated guy. He speaks dollars and cents, and so he has been concocting and planning this for a long time. And it's no secret that that's the case. There's a pivot to China. There's a pivot to not anti-Western, but not having to rely on Western financial institutions. So, what effect are they going to have? I can't say that they're going to have a substantial effect that'll change his mind, for one thing. But, we're going back to, like, think about this. We've grown up, and I think you guys are similar age to me in the sense that, we were born in a time when the Soviet Union was on the verge of collapse. So we don't remember.
Gorbachev died, actually. Yeah, that was a big deal not too long ago, actually.
We grew up in a world where the only sphere of influence is really the U.S. Western sphere of influence. We're now seeing a Chinese sphere of influence, obviously, but I mean, spheres of influence is not a paradigm that we're too familiar with on a day-to-day basis. So for us to see something challenging the West it's unique, but ultimately 25, 30 years ago, there were spheres of influence. The Soviet Union was the other one. And so it'd be unthinkable for the Ukraine to pivot to NATO. Then the Soviet Union collapses, and then NATO has Latvia join, Lithuania join, Estonia join. These are Baltic states that are on Russia's borders. So they see that as an encroachment. They have the scars of what NATO was in the Soviet Union.
So on that point, I mean, this is something you brought up. If you weren't on this podcast, I would have brought it up as my own idea and taken full credit for it.
Of course you would. Classic.
But you brought this up. You brought this up in conversation. Here's a hypothetical. So you said if Canada all of a sudden was to break all ties with its current allies and said it's joining a military alliance with China, USA would be like, "What the fuck? We share the same culture. We speak the same language. We watch the same movies. We share the same border."
It wouldn't go over well,
right? And like we share like NORAD. Like what the fuck are you doing? Joining our enemy.
Take that one step further. We can't say you're all right. All these things are important, but we can't say that we share the same ethnicity, really, or nation as the states, because we are multiple nations where it's diverse cultures and it's kind of like the new world. We're not defined by ethnicities per se,
right?
But Ukraine and Russia have that added layer that
so it's even closer. So it's even closer.
Even closer.
I think it almost sounds a lot like Punjab, like Pakistan Punjab and India Punjab.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like
but there's a difference of religion there. I mean, they don't even have that here.
I mean, not at that time. At the time, it used to be kind of mixed, and there's like, well, there's a little bit more Muslim on this side, so you guys get this part, and right. But they kind of did. The language was very similar, minus some dialects. I'd say the religion was a bit of the difference in terms of culture, but even that overlapped a little bit because we've seen all the influences kind of leak over back and forth.
To take his hypo one step further, I mean, let's say Canada does that. What do you think the U.S. would do? You think U.S. would let that happen, or they take us over and be like, "Fuck you, right? China, you're not going to take over Canada. They're ours now."
They would just embrace us as a new state. They'd be like, Canada is now the...
Oh, they'd be like, we're going to support the separatists in Quebec and then use that as an excuse to take over. Fuck you, UN.
I think, so my question would be, I mean, if we are saying they are obviously the same people, essentially, popular opinion in Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken, was that they did want to join NATO and move towards the West, more away from the Russian influence. What's the perception for Russians in terms of Ukraine? How do they feel about this? What's that side of the story? Do they feel this is just, or is it more of a political move?
So I guess that there's a couple of layers to answer that. I wish it was simple. Number one is popular opinion is so heavily influenced by Kremlin media, right? So there's a lot of propaganda involved here. So, but having said that, I mean, I know for a fact that the Russians see Ukrainians as their brethren. So, in terms of, they may be seeing it as a liberation rather than an invasion, but, ultimately Ukrainians don't really see it that way, a lot of them. The one thing I will say, though, that is in Crimea, when they took it over in 2014, there was more popular opinion to join Russia. And I think the popular opinion of the citizens there was to reunite with Russia. And I think don't forget, there's breakaway regions, separatist regions that want to join Russia and have the population there that are geographically closer. They're on the east side, but it depends where in the Ukraine the popular opinion would be to join NATO or to join Russia, right? So if it's a vast country and they have breakaway regions, I mean, that's the excuse.
I think in some of those regions, some of the citizens even carry Russian passports, from what I was reading.
Exactly. So yeah. So I guess it depends on where in the Ukraine, but I mean, So it's fair to say, that would be a fair comment to say that in Kiev, in Western Ukraine, which is where the majority of the population is, I think it's safe to say that the popular opinion would be not to join Russia. They've gone through revolutions. They've gone through uprisings and toppled governments. And that's what happened in 2014. There was a pro-Russian government that decided to break away with a EU trade agreement and join a Russian trade agreement. And the protesters, went to the streets and they overthrew them. And that was what spurred the first invasion. Complicated, layered history, but it's fair to say that Ukrainian popular opinion on the west side, Kiev, Odessa, the places like that, would be towards a pivot to NATO, a pivot to the west, let's say.
For sure. So, with that point, let's say, do you think this is where kind of Putin's maybe overplayed his hand? He's gone in with the intention of obviously decreasing the influence of NATO, obviously demilitarizing Ukraine, as he says. But isn't this going to kind of backfire? I don't think the Russians were expecting this much resistance for once.
Were they not?
And
though?
two, I know. But two, doesn't this invite the open invitation to NATO to bolster up those surrounding countries that have joined NATO around the Ukraine? Don't you think there's been more forces poured in than there was before and more influence? Like that's where I'm kind of like
that's a dangerous spiral, though, right? Bolstering. Yeah. It's like because we know the NATO motto, the creed is attack on one of us is attack on all of us. So imagine Ukraine being part of NATO and Russia attacked us. Now we have to go in.
Then we have to
go. That is a scary proposition to make.
And that's what they were saying. Like people in Latvia and the surrounding countries now are concerned, but if they're part of NATO, and that's the scary part. But my only thought is that, if he thought they were going to decrease their presence, I don't think NATO is going to do that. I think it's going to be an increase.
Yeah, Finland and Sweden want to join now. So
yeah.
So I actually got two questions now. Knowing that, there's this whole, you said influence. We saw Saudi Arabia and India not really join the NATO American side of the conflict and said, you know what, we might abstain. And that kind of caught America by surprise, I think. China abstained, which I think caught Russia off by surprise. So are these alliances kind of changing and reaffirming like who's on whose side right now? Is that what's going on?
I think the India and Saudi justification is strictly a financial one. There's a lot more cost to cut Russia off than it is to cut Ukraine off for obvious reasons. The resources and just the business dealings, right? So they've done a calculated risk assessment. I guarantee you that is what makes up their decision. There's no moral stance that's going on here. It's the dollar is the most moral thing that is going on.
Exactly.
But when it comes to China, that's a whole separate discussion. That's a very important one to have. China and the Soviet Union were the two competing communist countries throughout the last century, and that's another sphere of influence. Despite the Soviet Union being and China being communist countries, they have it's something to definitely check out. It's they hated each other, and so now the relationship it's uneasy. It's lipstick. It looks good. They anti-US united in that. But that's not that easy either. So China is playing their cards by saying, you know what? Let's see maybe where this plays out. Maybe
because they're going to do the same shit to Taiwan in a month, anyways, right? So
they're just seeing how the world reacts here.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we've had 70 years. Since World War II, we've had 70, 80 years of stability, relatively speaking. The world is not upended here. I think everyone's under the impression that, that's the longest time in history where the world has gone that long with generally not global conflicts happening. So, people want to preserve that. The leaders have it in their interest to preserve that as well. There's all these calculations going on here, right? How can we maintain the status quo to the extent possible?
What the last one big conflict was, what does Serbia Bosnia count?
It's regional. It's regional, right? It's not global. A superpower conflict would be something.
But it war in Europe at least.
But what about Iran and Afghanistan?
But don't forget, U.S. went into Eastern Europe. Yugoslavia, they bombed that because Soviet Union just fell, and the sphere of influence was gone. It was U.S. It was what the time was called Pax Americana, the American peace, and post 9/11 world that's diminished obviously. U.S. paid a heavy price in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Obviously, as we've seen, and China and Russia see that, and they're stepping back up to the plate. There's still got massive militaries here, so we're seeing the evolution of spheres of influence, and so it's an interesting time to be alive.
All right, one question I actually had. One thing we saw a lot of is the build up to this. America, and even Canada, both of them were quick to tell their citizens get out of the country. Things are really heating up. Ukraine said there's nothing to worry about. They're not going to attack us anytime soon. Germany, notoriously, again, they reported back saying, yeah, it's not as bad as people are making out to be. So much so that there's, I think it was their spy, I don't know what the actual term was, had to walk out and sneak out of there. Took him the last 48 to 72 hours where he's just trying to get out of there. And he's yeah, I didn't think this was about to happen. Why were certain countries expecting conflict, whereas the countries more close to it thinking nothing was going to happen?
Good question. I think it's managing people's fear. I think that's what it was, because Ukraine had to balance that, how to contain stay calm, keep the population calm in the face of such a huge threat that, frankly, I mean, we were all kind of taken aback that he actually pulled the trigger. Up until the last minute, I thought he was bluffing.
Yeah, because even Snowden, who I tend to think is got a good read on geopolitics to a certain degree, was saying America is trying to create this war. The media is trying to create a war or speak a war into existence.
But we've been in an era where all these kind of dictators, leaders, they always prop themselves up, or they put things on the board. Look at North Korea, right? Mm-hmm. We think he's crazy. We just don't think he's going to actually do it. It gets to the point, have some discussions, goes away. Same thing with Russia. I don't think anyone expected them to kind of say, hey, roll on in.
So was it really that big of a surprise in that region?
No, I wasn't. When they said there was 200,000 troops on the border, I don't think anybody was surprised there. That's just them moving their forces around any region, right? But to actually go in, when's the last time where a country just rolled in like that when there was no provocation, if you will?
2014, man, 2014.
No, I know he's done it, but I mean, this is
with sanctions.
Just maybe we're more aware to it, and I guess everyone's tired of COVID, right? So this is, I don't know, it was more surprising that he actually did it.
Yeah, we're all tired of COVID. We all went from virologists to now geopolitical.
I'm
generals.
I'm working on my master's in foreign policy right now. This is all going to be stuff that I'm going to repeat verbatim in 6 different WhatsApp groups. As if I just learned. I mean, that's the weird thing. We also live in a world where we all quickly become experts based on a Google search. And I try
the first link is what we rely on. That's it.
I do it all the time, and I kind of try to catch myself doing it. I'm like, man, stop engaging in this Twitter argument as if you really know what you're arguing for. But no, I honestly, when they said that they're rolling in, I'm like, yeah, that sounds bad. And then when everyone was like, no, it's just America bolstering up a war, I'm like, are they though? And when this happened, I was like, I thought they were always beefing. Is it really that surprising?
All right. Danny actually just bounced without saying bye. What a rude guy. But look, before anybody calls him a racist prick, he is Russian and half Ukrainian. And,
I like how you said don't call him a racist prick, and when no one would have thought to.
Well, he also brought up Hitler in Germany, and he's also Jewish. So come on.
I also had questions on this whole thing about Russia calling Ukrainian Nazis. That's a whole other thing that I thought it was super informative.
I think I'm going to echo that as well. I think we all hear about the news, but he gave some insight there to
the cousins thing makes it a lot more interesting for me. I never thought about the cultures being that close. I knew they were close. I didn't think, hey, these guys legit think.
It's like Dawab Bamala, man. That's
it's like
we're the same, but we're different.
That's legit. Look, he's around a lot of Punjabi people, so he tries to make that argument with me too. He's making that point, and that's what he's trying to drive home. That look, they're so interconnected, and even the language, the areas that Russia took first, they're coming in from the east side. They're predominantly Russian-speaking places. Crimea is completely Russian-speaking. So look, the way Russia's approaching this and going about this, I know they look like really big bad boys, but fuck, with a grain of salt there, boys, I mean, I
Yeah.
love what Ukrainians are doing in defending their homeland and shit like that. With
So here's a question.
Kiev being the fault line in the middle of like
So
protecting the West, where they have influence.
yeah.
Russia, I don't know if they're really the bad guys everybody makes them out to be.
We're trying to give them some humanity here.
Well,
yeah, I'm trying to give them some humanity. Exactly.
So I mean, here's another question. I mean, I was having this conversation with my wife. For this, I mean, you're looking at the Ukrainians. You see them kind of standing up for their homeland, and
So one, I think we gotta be fair. Not all of them are. They're
no.
pulling some people off trains and saying, "Get into fights."
Like those guys on that island they were showing, or
oh,
whatever. There's
calling out the ship and
saying, yeah. There's people fighting, right? So I'm like, do you feel the same about Canada that way? If the U.S., as you were touting the same way the other day, invaded, would you act the same way, or would you be booking on a train to
Minnesota,
Minnesota or something like
New
that?
York,
do you have
America?
Because that's the Ukrainian homeland, right? But I think a lot of in Canada we are such a obviously mix of immigrants. I wonder if we all share those sentiments. I know I would. I mean, this is my home, but
yeah. But on that note, I mean, I think I'd send my wife and kids to India.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that aside.
Yeah.
If you had the option, do you consider this your home, or is it kind of like? I think a lot of immigrants think they have a second home.
So I was kind of thinking about that too, because there's a certain degree of, is this like same like you said, is it my home? And then you have like, you're looking at some Ukrainians and what they're saying is, my wife and children are going to die here. They don't have to fight, but they're not escaping because there's nowhere for them to go. This is home.
Yeah, a lot of them didn't have cars, by the way. So a lot of people in that city, they don't have cars. They're just sitting there waiting. They have no way to get out.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend whose Canadian parents are trapped there, and they don't have access to a car. They're trapped in Kiev.
That's crazy.
Well, I don't even think having a car would help right now, because they say gas is pretty much done. Gas stations are depleted, and people have just left empty cars on the highways. So the major roadways are now just blocked. It's one of the weird things about like panic situations where you kind of create these problems now, because you have like your exit routes already like just blocked off. So you have to go by foot almost.
But I mean, the outcome of this thing is gonna be crazy, because like if he was like if he's surprised about the resistance, when this is all settled and done, and obviously he puts a new regime, eventually some Ukrainians must be pissed off, right? Like this is not
like they lost family, they lost money, they lost.
Yeah, this is a whole nother level to it, and it's going to build up a sentiment of anti-Russia sentiment.
Look, there's one wrinkle or not wrinkle, another layer to consider. Before the invasion, the Ukrainian government had pro-Russian MPs. That's crazy, but something that you need to consider.
But yeah, they're
okay.
They've been placed.
Yeah, so fine. You can say they've been placed because that's a narrative that the Ukrainian government would say, but they were elected somehow in their 8 neighborhoods.
So even if it was via propaganda, they have people who the part of the population who thinks we should just like be part of Russia.
Exactly. So they have been voted in. Even now, like Kiev has defenses. They're keeping the army, the Russian forces on the outside, but they have saboteurs who are inside destroying shit. These are people that are from these neighborhoods. Among Us. Exactly. So with that layer in mind, I guess the point I'm really going for is that a lot of people are welcoming this. And
it's not a straight up
and when Russia comes in and sets up base camp, they'll have a very easy time setting up a puppet government, and they'll get concessions really quick because they already have laid the foundation for it with the support of a good foothold in the people and in the government.
So what you're saying, it's not going to piss off everybody, right? But it's definitely pissing off the rest of the world. Obviously, these guys on the world stage, Russians are losing a lot of platforms. They just lost the Champions League final match. That's moved back to Paris. They've lost the F1. That was in September.
How much does that matter to them, really?
I don't know, man. These guys do steroids to win gold medals, so clearly, their appearance does matter to them, right? So
does it? Because if you're that worried about it, you don't do it during the Olympics. Like, I think the IOC was pissing like the Olympics. You're supposed to have like some worldwide conflict truce, and Russia's
I mean, money is obviously all that matters, but for their own citizens, it can't be. There's not too much confidence.
But back to what you guys are saying, we saw the politicians in Ukraine step up and say we're taking up arms against this thing. Any Canadian politician you think you see do that?
No way. No way.
No.
You don't see Paul Poilievre pulling out a friggin' AK and saying Carleton's my homeland. I mean, the truckers.
I see him taking pictures. I'm seeing him taking pictures, but that's about it.
Oh, maybe Sudden, because he's done it.
Maybe.
Well, he's a soldier, so that's the only.
It's kind of crazy. Like you watch these videos of like people getting conscripted and stuff. What are your views on like conscription in the modern age? Should like the Ukraine military use straight? If you're a man and you're on a train, out, get the fuck off the train. You're going the other way.
No, I think they should also stop women too. Fuck it. They fought for their rights. They fought for their rights. So if you're 18 to 60, fuck it, lady, you're staying.
Hey man, what's the Israeli army? You're conscripted into the Israeli army, man or woman, which is I think is pretty cool.
And if you have kids, like then one of you has to go and one of you can stay. Like, but you got to pick, and it's not automatically the man. So fuck it.
Okay, so maybe not conscription in a war, but do you think mandatory military service is something that Canada should have?
Low key, yes. I thought about
just
this.
Domestic, not fighting foreign wars, just national
training,
guard type
just
stuff.
Training and making sure
reserves. Yeah.
So I always bounce around with this because I'm not anti-military complex, but I'm somewhat anti-police to a degree. Like I think police are overly funded in many regards and corrupt. But when it comes to the military, I think all nations need a functional military. I'm not one of the people who kind of jumps on, and this is where I get into conflict with a lot of people who share leftist ideologies, where they're like anti-military all down the middle. I think, yeah, we should have reserves. I think everyone should be conscripted and have to do 2 years reserve training by default. Like your high school, part of your high school diploma or your university graduation program. Not even university. I think it just needs to come down to high school. Like you got to be trained in certain military combat.
Oh, there's a culture that comes with it, right? I mean, let's look at the States. You have a flag at every McDonald's. We just have it at government buildings here. It's very different. We don't walk around saluting the Canadian flag like, oh, that's my flag, that's my team, right?
But at the same time, we do have it though.
America's different, right? They've enlisted usually in low socioeconomic areas, and that makes a majority of the military. But let's say everyone had to join. Do you think it would, on a world stage, put us, in a different category? We're just not the nice Canadian neighbor to the north.
With a nice
big brother to the south.
I mean, buddy, we have one of our national pastimes is rolling around on blades and punching each other. Like, I think Canadians have honor to them to a degree. I don't think we're as like soft or as like cuddly. I think we're polite and we're nice, but I think Canada does have that, fuck you, bud, to it.
Don't fuck with our borders.
I mean, I think Canadians are patriotic, but we're not patriotic to the dumb, like that same degree of America, like America. But Canadians, we see that all the time when we win championships, when we do things. Canadians love reasons to celebrate Canada.
I agree, but at the same time, and if we're talking about, not sure aggression, but defense, do you think we as a country are investing enough into our defenses?
No way, we're so underfunded, man.
We're so underfunded. So
I remember seeing something about how underfunded we are. We're still one of the top trained armies.
Yeah, but let's say so. Putin and Russia has always had eyes on the Arctic and the Arctic region and the North Pole. Let's say he just decides to come this way.
Sanctions. We're gonna tell on you.
Hey, buddy. Excuse me, sir. Can you get off my?
We're gonna go to America. Be like, oh, they're here. Help us.
Help.
Look, if we've seen anything, Putin shows up. We got a convoy of 60 truckers willing to go there and honk their horns at him. So I think we could give him a headache. If anything, we could be a really good migraine for him.
Well, so should we move on from this topic? Should we talk about something else? Maybe some positive stuff, some other types of leaders.
Look,
hasn't been too positive this week.
He's talking about people decking each other. You guys see that kid on Jaskaran on Jeopardy?
Deck on Jaskaran.
The most recent. Has anyone actually watched that episode yet? Because I haven't, so I don't know what he's.
I haven't.
I haven't seen any of the Jeopardy, but I've seen them all over social media, and honestly, it's cool. It is pretty cool.
I didn't think I'd see the day. It wasn't something that I'd be like, oh man, I can't wait for Sikh to be on Jeopardy because I'm not a huge Jeopardy guy. But I'm sure he's friggin' pretty smart.
Well, he did win.
It was like a college-only Jeopardy show, I guess.
Yeah.
So you guys are not fans of Jeopardy at all?
I like Jeopardy. I understand Jeopardy. I enjoy it, but I've never been like, oh, Jeopardy's on. Let me tune in.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
So, fair enough. Yeah.
I'll be honest, we were more of a Wheel of Fortune family growing up. As soon as Wheel ended, we
turned the channel off.
If we did,
Price is Right.
Yeah, so Wheel of Fortune.
Price is Right. That's during the day.
We carried to Jeopardy, and then midway, that's when I found out what else is going on, or that's when my parents lost interest, got up, left the sofa, and I had.
Mind you, I actually haven't seen Jeopardy after Alex. Like I really never tuned in with the new host, so that's maybe one of the reasons I don't care to see it. But man, pretty cool for one of these Sikh youths to win something like that, put him on a national stage. Being from Texas, I don't know if he's from Texas, but he obviously goes to Texas thing. So do you think this is something we should look more forward to? Sikhs being on a main stage. Are we getting to the mainstream now?
I mean, I think we've
always... In America?
I think we've all... Yeah, I guess it's kind of surprising in America. For me, the image... I don't know. It did surprise me. That's why we're talking about it. Because it's not an everyday occurrence. But, I don't know. I thought it was cool. I don't know if it's going to be repeating or if we're going to see like a whole uprising of Sikh Jeopardy love, or more Sikhs are going to start trying to be trivia nuts. I think it's just cool that we're part of like that regular, hey, it's just a Sikh, and people kind of, I don't know if they recognize him as a Sikh or not, but I just think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of successful Sikhs in America as well, right? A lot of CEOs, and I think Citibank, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on that, but there's
MasterCard, I think it was their CEO.
Quantum. And then QuantumScape or whatever that battery company was, that guy was a singer.
I'll say this much:
there are people, but
based on the Sikhs that I know in America, when people think about Sardars and stuff, they think money and they think success.
Cabbie gas stations.
No, I think Cabbie gas station, but they also think tech,
money.
So is that more of that's a southern thing though? I would say that more in the southern states, right? Because like New York, do people like?
Not so much New York, but in other states that I've met people, they've all been like, "Oh, Sikh, these guys, they probably own something. They probably run some, even if it's convenience stores or gas stations." I think a lot of people.
We're not getting the labor. We're not getting the label of labor or hard worker. Yeah. It's more these guys are successful, right?
Yeah. So I think I don't know. I thought it was cool. I don't know how to really add more to it. I just think it was cool seeing him do his thing. I saw the celebration where his school celebrate or his thing, and this guy starts friggin' pulling out the punkana with these guys, and they're like, "Hey!"
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Was he good?
I thought he was pretty good, man. My rating of what good punkana is it's a very low bar considering how bad I am.
I know. I wouldn't say it was good punkana. I'm just gonna put that out there, but.
But look, he's not.
He can do whatever he can do whatever he wants right now.
What he won $250,000, and I think his school gets a chunk of it too. So
he's a celebrity, man.
Man, I'm telling you,
this time, man. Power to him.
I don't know if there's Jeopardy groupies, but I'm sure he was getting some knocks on his door. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I'm just saying.
Hey,
he was pretty popular.
Jaskaran.
One thing we didn't talk about too much last week, though. The Emergency Act. We saw it come and we saw it go. We didn't even get a chance to talk about it because, well, we're lazy.
Well, everybody else is playing checkers and Trudeau is playing chess.
Or is Trudeau just fumbling around?
Firstly, it's finished, right? Let's just put that out there. It's finished now, right? He's ended it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. That's the way I look at it. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah,
everybody was up in arms. Everyone's up in arms. Oh, this is against this and that. And I'm like, big deal.
I mean, with the lawyer hat on, it was pretty fucked up. As the average Canadian who it didn't affect and really wanted to just stop these protests, well, yeah. I mean, what the fuck else was he going to do? The cops threw the flag in.
He couldn't use the he couldn't use the Dundee, so he had to do it some other way.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
If he was in India, there'd be Dundee everywhere, right?
He's like, oh shit, the cops are letting you guys do whatever the fuck they want.
Low-key, what he did was he put sanctions on the protesters.
Yeah, and they caved right away. There ain't no Putin.
Is that your new favorite word now? Sanctions.
Sanction is the word of the day. Everyone leave a comment with the word sanction just to let us know that you listen, that you made it this far. If you heard the word sanction.
Well, regardless, the best stories coming out of are these. Was it Pat King and that other lady got denied bail? Have you guys heard? Have you guys read the story? Like,
I saw
oh,
they
so
brought
good. The tweets from court. It's
like,
so funny,
dude. It's like a movie. You can't write that stuff, right? Like, he brought this lady who had known him for like 4 weeks, and she's willing to take equity out of her house to release him, and she's like, she denied everything. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And then the other, I forgot the lady's name, but she brought her husband.
Like, your character witness is a crack for doing this.
No, he brought her husband, and then she's like, you know, the judge was like, how'd you get here? He's like, oh, private plane, but I can't say who. It's like, just, you're saying stuff, you're like, this is like movie, man. This can't be real, right? And like, what did you think was going to happen?
He flew in on a private jet, but they're saying they don't have the money to get back home.
Yeah. But they won't disclose who. They won't disclose
who paid for it. Except they have access to $1 million from the GoFundMe, right?
This is going to be a crazy story.
Didn't that get frozen?
Someone's going to sell a book.
No, they got the first milli.
Oh, okay. That whole thing is crazy, though. Do you think, like, the fact that they started going after donors, or they didn't really go after any donors, but they said we could go after donors to scare donors, does that make you think twice next time you start donating to any of these causes or protests or activist type things, even if they're Sikh related?
I mean,
no, not really.
Do you donate right now?
I donate, yeah. I don't donate to anything sketch. At least I wouldn't consider anything sketch. I could honestly see the WSO someday falling under, not that, you know, things. It's just because WSO is the most politically active, and not even politically active, but what's the right word? They're the ones who annoy politicians the most.
They're vocal.
They're vocal. They annoy politicians particularly. They call out politicians. So if the politician or a political party, and we've seen this happen with WSO already, where certain political parties aren't in favor or aren't fans of what they do, they will not make their life easy. They don't make it hard. They just don't make it easy. And I could honestly see like an opposition party one day being like, you know what, these Sikhs are causing way too much trouble. And I don't know if we'll ever get to that extent of an emergency act. I don't think it's something that any government's just going to pull out whenever they get bored. I still think governments are going to be extra mindful when they do it. But I don't know, like, if
I don't see it being a regular occurrence. I mean, the only reason, if they hadn't taken that Windsor Bridge, it wouldn't have happened. That's my opinion. It's too much money. It always comes down to money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust me, Ottawa was not losing any money. They're just losing sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
when they're losing,
I want to disagree with you there, Robbie, because from my recollection, Shindar, correct me if I'm wrong, the Windsor Bridge was cleared, and then the EA was
EA was brought in after the.
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, the borders were cleared.
So it really was just because, in my opinion, Ottawa. Look, this is what happened. Cops in Ottawa fucked up.
They stopped listening to their chief.
They stopped listening to their chief, who I think is a black guy, right?
Sloy.
Maybe a little bit of racism there. Okay. Anyways, they stopped listening to their chief. They let these.
And he's a Toronto guy. He wasn't an Ottawa chief, right? He was an
exactly.
Ottawa cop who became the chief of police in Ottawa because he didn't get the job in Toronto. He was up for it. He lost it out. He lost out to it. Went to Ottawa, got the job in Ottawa. Didn't seem like he got the respect though of the cops there.
Exactly. He was probably seen as an outsider. And then you have the Dougler who really didn't, who sent the OPP up there. But like, look, the OPP didn't fuck all except like watch what the protesters are doing. But the city wanted Trudeau to send the army in, but Trudeau knows if he sends the army in, he's fucked, right? It looks horrible. Sending the army against your own people, so he's fucked. The city can't do shit. Everybody's like, it's that Spider-Man meme where there's 3 Spider-Mans all pointing at each other. And this whole time, they're all these protesters are at the doorstep of Parliament, even though the mandates are provincial. And it's making him, even though it makes no logical sense, it makes him look like an ineffective fucking leader.
So he played a Trump card.
He fucking played his fucking Trump card.
And the timing of Russia couldn't be more perfect.
It just changed the topic.
it erased it from the news cycle, right? Like you didn't even. Who cares? Emergency
Who
outage.
gives
That
a
was last
fuck?
week.
Who gives a fuck
And
about
This was
also-
literally got lifted on Monday, so it's not even like it was ages ago and we're pulling up an old topic, right? This is all within our
That's
week of
great.
what happened. What I found kind of interesting about the whole Trudeau, or like first to kind of defend Dougie. Dougie gave the OPP to Ottawa. He's like, here's the chief, and they said,
Why are you always defending Dougie?
because I feel like Dougie gets a whole rap. Dougie gets an odd
First
rap,
of all,
man.
this show calls him Dougler and not Dougie.
All right,
It's the Dougler. All right.
all right. So look,
What's with the Dougler name? This is the first time I'm hearing it. So-
Dougler gave Ottawa the OPP and said, here, figure it out. And the police are like, they don't have a plan. The police chief in Ottawa has no idea how to use these resources right now, or how to like push them. So they're just kind of standing by idling, checking out people's canteens, going by. And I'm not, look, Dougie gave me my free stickers. I'm voting conservative next election. I'm
That's all
down.
you needed. It. Wait, how are they going to pay? So what is it? How 100 million? I can't even remember the figure. It's some crazy number
100 million.
that these guys get. Yeah, they get from these stickers. Where's that money going to come from?
It's money we don't need. He's cleaning out the cesspool.
Oh, really? We don't need money now, eh?
I mean, I don't know if it wins my vote because it's like one of those low
It's
hanging
just like,
fruits, easy
yeah,
ones.
that's all
But
he's doing.
I mean,
Buy
but
my
I don't
vote.
mind it. I don't mind it. I mean, I'm not gonna pay my parking tickets now. So
No, apparently he still gets screwed with the parking ticket thing.
how?
I don't know, but I heard you still get screwed. All I'm saying is, I feel like Dougie gets a bad rap.
Well,
I think he sent the
literally,
OPP to them, and the chief there didn't know what to do with the chief.
Dougie always gets Dougie's wrong.
And Doug,
Not
and
a
look,
Dougler. Sorry, Dougler, the
and I
Dougler.
think Dougler would recognize. He's like, look, they're saying F Trudeau, not F Ford. Why am I gonna? When they came to Toronto, he cleared out Toronto. He made sure that, he made sure that city knew not to let these guys set up camp at Queens
Who,
Park.
Dougler?
Yeah,
The Dougler?
Yeah.
Dougler.
They
Was he
did
there
set
with
up
a snow shovel? Was he there
Yeah,
with a snow shovel?
He pulled out that snow shovel. He made sure that these guys didn't bother him at Queens Park. Gave him a weekend. They did.
No, we've been dealing with Dougler for a long time, but it would have been interesting to see Patrick Brown as a premier. I ain't gonna lie, and he's been in the news recently as well.
Sneaking in there.
He's possibly. Well, he's
So-
thinking of running for the federal leadership. What do you guys think about that?
these stories don't get leaked by mistake. He's definitely been. He's putting out feelers right now.
Would you vote for him?
100%.
Over Pierre, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
Would
I
you
got
vote conservative? Like I don't know who you vote for, but are you more inclined to vote conservative if
With
he's
him?
running?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Hell yeah. He's centrist. I mean, I can
His
appreciate
name's
him.
Brown. He's from Brampton. Come on.
I can
Uh,
appreciate
yeah.
that type of conservative. That's the conservative I go for. And I mean, not to say like, Pierre isn't making his own moves. I mean, now he's got like Timmy up there and as a co-chair, right? Adding some color to his background.
And he's got a good job.
Timmy,
So
Timmy
the
got
two
in
sick-
quick. Timmy got in quick.
The two sick MPs from Alberta, they endorsed Paul.
Look,
Yeah,
Timmy
so-
just
Endorsing
Timmy
is
just wants
one
to-
thing, but
Timmy
like
just
he's
wants
got
to
a
have that
co-chair.
back chair again.
Yeah, so
Timmy wants the back
And-
chair again. He wants
and-
to be
yeah.
in that video
No.
frame.
look, these guys knew that O'Toole's done, and they picked a candidate. You need to pick a candidate if you want to get ministry. You got to go in early.
But
So-
does Pierre look like he even smiles? This guy's always angry.
Honestly, Pierre has such an annoying punchable
He's so
face.
angry.
I get
does,
that
doesn't he?
I get that he makes really
Remember,
good.
do you guys remember
flipping
Frank Grimes
points?
from The Symptoms?
Yeah.
Get
Frank
this-
Grimes?
Uh-huh.
Do you guys remember Frank Grimes from The Simpsons?
Yeah.
That's exactly who Pierre is. You just look at that guy. He's
He's
ready to
Frank
explode.
Grimes.
So I was reading something crazy today. Apparently, he paid a economics professor 11 grand. It's on his expense report to teach him economics, and this is recent, as of last year or something like that.
I'm not mad at that,
Is
though.
that a bad?
No, that's great. I
That's
think
okay.
more politicians need to pay people of like knowledge to teach them stuff that they don't know, rather than pretending to know what they don't know, like friggin' Randy Hiller out here being an expert. I mean, look.
But I mean,
Look,
why are you against that, Ranji?
Look,
why
because-
the no?
I think that's great.
Okay, well, I think
So remember, the entry to politics or a barrier to entry is very low, right? You don't need any education
need
in
money.
economics.
It's just-
exactly, but like that's kind of fucked up. It's already bad enough that we have all these politicians that fucking go to law school and before they get a job, they're already fucking politicians or
Hold
some
on.
teacher
Lawyers,
some teacher
lawyers.
Or
who fucking
insurance
taught like
clerks
maybe for
become
1
the-
year.
Insurance
or an
clerks.
insurance clerk. Yeah, like it's
One
long
day,
gone are the days.
a one day
Long
insurance clerk.
gone,
One day.
long gone are the
Yeah.
days where you have like a 40-plus-year-old guy who has experience in there. Okay, so what's scary about a guy who basically took a crash course on economics and is going to be a prime minister and shape fucking economic policy? I don't know what could be wrong with that. Fuck, nothing, right?
Oh, no, everything's wrong. But let's talk about Christy Freeland. What experience does she have in
I mean,
finance?
you think Trudeau paid
That's
anyone
fair.
to teach him and give him
No,
like
there's not
updates
nothing.
on foreign policy?
Trudeau is a master in drama. Let's just not forget that.
But
master
at least,
in
at the
disguise.
very least, his first cabinet that he picked, I thought
He
it was
put
pretty. He
found
put in
people-
places. He put people in the ministries where they had background, and that was fucking smart. It was fucking, showed good leadership. Good look, as a coach or has to know what talent they have and use it strategically. Okay, you could have a fucking the most talented forward offensive weapon, and if you put him in net, what the fuck good is that, right? So a good leader is able to see people's skills and use them appropriately. So even like with Sujin was the only military guy he had in his fucking arsenal of MPs that won.
No, he had
and that
two.
first land swipe, he had 2 or 3, and he still put Sujin in there, right? But why? I mean, look, the political soft points aside, like he still knew he had
put
to
someone
put a
in the-
soldier in there. He put a soldier in there.
Fair enough.
He put a CEO in to
It
handle
was
business.
logical. You're
But look,
saying it was
It
logical.
was all logical. He put
mean,
a doctor at Ministry of Health. I mean,
and
it
that's
was all
fair. But
logical.
like Paul still has a chance to do that. Yeah, you can't like chirp him for not doing that because he doesn't even have the job yet, right?
I will. And you know what's the biggest fucking knock that fucking I have with conservatives, especially in the GTA? How many fucking strong fucking candidates have they put up?
They don't
the
attract.
GTA.
They don't attract good candidates right now. That's the biggest problem.
Well, I mean, it's a losing cause for them, right? Sometimes they're not going to put their resources where they kind of know they're going to lose, so they don't care.
They have
Right.
one in the GTA before. They have.
They've had them.
They have, but
And
I mean,
they've
it's
kinda
not their
drifted away.
territory, right?
And they've drifted away because
But
they haven't seen the chances.
I think this election they'll go hard in the GTA.
It really depends on the leader.
You know.
I think if Brown, this was the one thing I noticed about Brown because I was close to Brown's provincial campaign. Brown did seek out good talent provincially for candidates because Brown did think he was going to win and form government. So he did go out and recruit people, and even if he got like a few of the wild uncle type guys, he knew who he wanted to like put up and try to represent him and be part of his team. And he had favorable candidates, which caused him some headache in the end and probably triggered part of his downfall, that he was a little too favorable to certain people and not as fair, because a lot of people, called him out for election rigging and all that kind of stuff within their nominations. But at the same time, that's what you kind of want. You want the leader to say, this is my team. I don't want just anyone running and...
And then that team got co-opted by the Dougler.
and look, Dougler recognized what Brown
Dougler.
put together.
I love that
and
name, by the way, Dougler.
And he said, look, man, good job,
Mix
Brownie.
of the Penguin and the Riddler.
He's like, good job there, Brownie. I'm taking over. So,
Yo, but you know what'll be sick though if let's say Brown does become prime minister. I mean, obviously, if that ever happens,
it's a
Parliament would be lit. He already played Bhangra at City Hall for every event for us, and he's always there for our community.
I'll say this, though.
That'd be sick playing Bhangra at Parliament.
If Brown became PM, we wouldn't see near as much Brown around him.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Brown is really good to know who his crowd is and who to cater to. He's catering to Desis and Punjabis because he's in Brampton. When he gets to Ottawa, he's not going to say, "Look, I need to make." He doesn't want to scare people away by bringing too much color with him. He's always going to give them an ear,
a taste,
a tingle, right? But I don't put it. Part of the reason I respect Brown is he knows who his audience is, and he knows how to play to them. He knows
he's a lawyer as well. He's a lawyer too, right?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
And this is why a lot of people call Brown.
I don't think so.
I remember, he's a lawyer, man.
He is.
He's greasy like one, so I'm gonna.
He's 100% a lawyer. He's a working lawyer. In
maybe I'll search it right now.
Yeah, keep squinting at the fucking screen, doctor.
Look, part of what Brown did, where he knew his crowd and he played to it, is what. Fuck you guys. Let me finish my sentence here.
Sorry, man. Go for it.
Brown knows his audience, and he plays to it, which is why people considered him kind of snaky and sleazy early on, But I think it's great. I think that's what we want in politicians. We want politicians who are aware of what's going on around them, who the people are around them, and represent them. So, look, Brown goes for PM, and if he wins, I will vote for him. I'm a card-carrying conservative. I will vote for him.
Or you? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I renew them every now and then, depending on who makes my memberships.
I'm a member in every party, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true too. I think I've been a member of every party for. I'm not going to say it's legal to do that. I don't condone breaking the law.
For me, it was one and done. Never again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was done.
So,
Yeah.
anyways.
At some point or another, I've been a member of every party.
Okay, so one thing Brown did.
NDP, never NDP though. I would never. That's the one.
I was an NDP. I voted in Jagmeet. No, did I? I mean, I made memberships for.
No,
him, so.
I haven't been. I haven't been a member for NDP either.
NDP.
I don't think so.
I haven't been a conservative either. So, but Patrick Brown, the Dougler definitely he has to lose. So,
I don't mind if Paul wins, but I don't care enough to become a member to vote for Paul, unless someone comes to my house with a membership form.
So here's the problem I always have, right? Like, let's say you love the candidate but hate the
party.
Love the main. No, you love the party. Let's say you want X for prime minister or premier, but you hate the candidate in your area.
I would vote.
I'm in that position all the time.
I do that all.
That's
that
so. That's I just I don't know what to do.
If I like the local candidate and I hate the party, I'll still vote the local candidate. I always give local candidate precedence.
But when's the last time you liked the local candidate and hated the party? That has never. I've always hated the local candidate.
Yeah,
2 elections ago with Scheer.
Really?
Yeah. I forget the candidate's name. He was a young guy running for Conservatives. He was a really well-spoken, well-mannered. He's actually a solid candidate. Should I look I'm not going to find his name. It was it's this election before this one that just passed.
Federal Conservative.
Good guy.
You mean Neville Bajaj? Yeah. Okay.
Neville Bajaj. I'm
that's
not.
Who it was, right? Yeah. That's who.
Yeah. That was you.
It
was you, buddy.
I mean, if you guys really want me to look up a name, one of my boys was actually his coach. Was his campaign manager at the time, and he was like, what can we do?
I know who you're talking about.
He was a lawyer too. I can't remember.
Well, it's all politics and
Arpin Khanna.
Right.
He's a good guy.
Whatever. Politicians. There's lots of them. There's lots of bunders in this world too. Should we talk about the bunders of the week?
I mean, look, your segue sucked. I had a good segue for this. I was like, Patrick Brown knows his audience.
You messed up the program. You skipped 2 topics, and I had to revert the podcast back to make the program work again.
Right. Shouldn't have fucked up the outline.
You just jumped 2 topics. I had to bring it back, brother. You jumped. You went from Ukraine to Jaskaran, Jaskaran, and you missed the whole topic.
You missed the patter.
Ranji, you're seeing my eyes. I got to check his prescription, I think.
Yeah, seriously. He's got it on, too.
I thought we already went. Anyways, look. Brown knew his audience, and he held a Deep Sidhu vigil in Brampton City Hall. International students and Punjabi Sikhs, they went to the Gurdwara to do an Akhand Path in Kelowna for Deep Sidhu, and the Gurdwara management kicked them out. That's my segue right there.
Anyways, Bunders of the week. What the hell was that?
Yeah, but who cares? Like they're allowed to set up whatever policy they want, right?
Are you sure?
They are private.
Oh yeah, no, they're allowed to. But do you think that's the?
No,
it might not be the right decision, but they have the ability to make that decision.
So being familiar with that area a little bit, BC's always had like that soft, moderate versus.
Yeah, they have tables and chairs.
Oh, would Deep Sidhu be considered?
He'd be considered fundamental.
To do a vigil for him.
Like people there are very pro-India or anti-India when it comes to Gurdwara too.
Wow, I didn't know that. I've never been, so take my.
You never been to BC?
Golden BC with you. That was it.
All right.
So yeah, like I know there was a Singh who once went to Vernon Gurdwara and he went to wash his feet, and they didn't have like the feet washing type sink set up. So he put his feet in the sink, like the proper sink to wash them, like most Iksalis do. And this guy legit got chased out of the Gurdwara by the committee. The committee's like, we don't want your kind here.
Man, do you find that our people fight about the stupidest things sometimes? Like
this kid,
let the man wash his feet. Who cares, right?
He wasn't even trying to like preach them on Maryada or anything. He's just like, look, this is what I do. Let me do it. and the committee was like so anti him they kind of chased him out. So Kelowna doing this, it's definitely tone deaf. It's not reading the room.
Yeah,
It's not reading the population.
we have Gurdwara that have their own politics or own preferences, and they attract certain crowds. We have that in the GTA. We have that everywhere. What am I talking about? GTA. We have that everywhere. But fine, let's just take GTA for an example, right? Different Gurdwara attract different crowds. That's normal. And it comes their inherent policies that happen to be the foundation for why certain crowds come to that Gurdwara, right? So,
but it's also why the GTA has multiple Gurdwara, because as soon as you need a new crowd because you don't like how things are being run, or you have a completely you start your own Gurdwara. That's this guy didn't let me do my wedding here. I'm gonna start my own Gurdwara type flex, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kelowna's not at that size yet where they have one Gurdwara.
I just thought this would be kind of a universal. It'd be A-okay. Someone wants to hold some candles and do a candlelight vigil.
Or someone passed away, you like them, okay, you want to do park? Sure, go ahead, whatever. I thought it was such a weak hill to die on for Kelowna Gurdwara committee.
They can do what they want. I mean, let's take out Gurdwara. Well, actually, no. Let me walk that back. They can do what they want. Let's replace the building that you're imagining in your head of a big Gurdwara, and let me say it's a house with Maharaj Swarup there, and let's say Nishan Sahib outside. We got a Gurdwara, right? But it's someone's house. It's their fucking rules. They can do what they want. If they don't like what you look like, that's how you get the fuck out.
So now we're saying it's private.
See, that's where I disagree, right? Space. It's not
like if you're applying the contact that you're Gurdwara, you're public. You're not private.
No, but like that's where it gets tricky, right? Because
private business.
That's where it gets tricky, right?
Yeah, where's the money coming for all this?
Where's the money go? Yo, I looked at the pictures of that thing. Those stairs look really nice. They had a nice railing at the Gurdwara. I'm like, yo, if someone got paid.
I mean, like the Gurdwara, the way they're set up here is kind of whack because ideally all Gurdwara are beholden to Akal Takht and the Maryada that comes down and they have the final say kind of thing. But a lot of Gurdwara ignore Akal Takht depending on their politics. So it's this weird world we live in right now. I think Bandit of the Week goes to the management at the Gurdwara, and I'm sure you can always kind of throw this at any management depending on what's happening. But I think they totally dropped the ball there. And honorable mention, NBA dunk-off. Do you guys even watch the All-Star game?
Nope. I watched it. You don't watch the All-Star game was good. The dunk-off, not so much.
I'll admit, I watched the last probably 5 minutes of the All-Star game. I watched 0 of the skills competition, and I didn't miss anything good.
I just heard people telling me that I made a good decision playing Halo that night.
It was one of the worst dunk-offs I've ever seen. Each guy missed 3 dunks before he even got close to getting it. Some guys didn't even make their dunk. But one guy tried to dunk in Tim's, and you're like, oh, this might be cool, but he kept missing the dunk. And you're just. Because when they put the highlights together, you got to remember you're only seeing the completed dunks.
Yeah,
you're not seeing the 45 attempts before, right?
That's what I wanted to get to. We've seen dunk-offs where the guy did 45 attempts. Birdman, remember that?
We have, but it's never good. The good ones. This one was by far one of the worst.
Like we always have that.
The sentiment is shared by a lot of people.
Like we have the rare good ones, but then we have a years of like lull. And then we kind of get good again. And
so do you think they should change up the format? I mean...
I think you just got to embrace that you're going to have lulls. You're not going to have the same insane
moments.
I think they should drop the net like a foot and just let everybody at it.
Nobody has a fucking good all-star product anyways. They're all shit. Pro Bowl, shit.
No, so I
think Pro Bowl is by far the worst one.
I disagree. This year, the NBA setup was pretty cool. The format was you're playing each quarter. So East versus West, so it's you play for the quarter. Whoever wins that quarter, your charity gets $100,000, and then the last quarter, the final one, it's up to a score. There's no time, so they actually really did get serious at one point. Steph Curry lit it up, obviously, but it was entertaining. It was entertaining
because the first 2 quarters of that game were boring as hell. The first two quarters of the All-Star game were really boring. I kind of I know it happens everyone where they don't play defense. They're just trying to get their rhythm, do some dunks. Like the dunks in the All-Star game are usually better than the
baseball has to be the worst.
No, home run derby.
No,
home run
home run
derby.
derby is probably the best thing. That's probably the best product out of all the major
Really?
sports.
I think
Yeah.
home run derby is
You don't
one
think
of
it's
the funny.
boring? It
I
used to be
don't-
fun, but
I still find the home run derby fun.
I think it's the best product out of all the major leagues. Like that one product is the best thing.
And
just the home
Is it
run, just the
consistently
one
good?
thing.
correct me if
Yes.
I'm wrong, but the baseball All-Star game, the winning side gets some type of advantage in the playoffs, right? Like if the ALS wins it versus
I have no idea.
National League,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
like they get home. The first home game goes to the winner of the All-Star game, or that's how they decide it.
Right.
No
something
idea,
like
man.
that.
Probably.
So I think that's pretty cool. I think they need to make the All-Star games mean a little bit more, but at the same time, it's supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be for the fans. And I think maybe we've outgrown All-Star games. All-Star games are for the kids.
I mean, the celebration at halftime was pretty cool. The 75th anniversary of the
Oh
greatest players.
no, dude.
Why? It was
it
kind of
was
cool to see.
it was by far one of the most boring. I feel like their music act didn't confirm in
Oh,
time.
DJ Khaled? DJ
Yeah,
Khaled?
like I feel like they failed on that music act that they're just like, look, let's just grab a bunch
DJ
of old.
DJ Khaled looked at Dr. Dre. He's like, I'm not up you. I'm going to just bring everybody I know. Everybody.
It was so bad. I was so like, this is one of the worst.
Nobody talked
halftime.
about it. That's case in point about how bad it was.
And then the fact that they're doing, my wife's like, are they really going to go through all 75 big like forwards or like top 75?
It literally took less than 10 minutes?
It was the worst. I gave up. I was like, I'm watching a
Come
bunch
on,
of old guys.
Jordan at the end wasn't cool.
That's an interesting
you
thing
hear-
about Jordan. Is Jordan kind of
He came?
like,
He
yeah,
flew.
the fact that
Did
he's
you hear
there.
what he did?
What do you do?
He flew. He was at Daytona like an hour. I don't know how much earlier. Saw the Daytona 500. Got on a plane and just made it on time for that entrance.
Really?
Yeah, dude, that's a power move.
One thing I saw, this was the
sick.
most
He didn't show up for the
Jordan.
picture. He didn't go up for the picture. He's
That's
like,
so
"Oh,
sick.
fuck the picture," but he showed up.
This is the most Jordan I've seen at an All-Star game in a long time. And some people were saying that Jordan was affected by Kobe's funeral, where no one was real. Everyone's like, Kobe took the time to be with the young talent and stuff. I feel like Jordan wanted a bit of that.
Is someone trying to turn off the light in your room?
Yeah,
Oh,
everyone
there's
sees
that.
her. We're on video screen right now, and
It's a magical hand.
Yeah, I guess that's the cue, eh?
yeah, I guess that's the cue to end this.
I guess we can't play anymore. Time to go home, guys.
Playtime's over, Shinda. Playtime's over.
It is what it is. All right, boys. Any
right.
closing remarks?
I'm watching the live stream from Kiev. I've been watching gunshots this whole time, or hearing gunshots. So it's starting to become dawn there right now. So let's see what
I
Putin
like how you're
has
actually
for the
got
next
Twitter
day.
feed open.
Well, let's hope it all gets resolved.
Yeah.
I hope this thing ends sooner than later, but I can't see an end in sight. I think this is gonna go until
One
there's a
thing-
stalemate.
One thing I just want to touch on, actually, isn't it fucking crazy watching war unfold on social media? Like, it's
Could you
so
imagine,
surreal,
like,
nuts.
It's
I
the
mean, you're seeing it, but you're seeing it now too, right? Did you guys see that video of the guy who got ran over by a tank?
That was insane.
He moved, yeah.
was
He tried to stop
crazy.
it, Tiananmen Square style.
Yeah, we would have never believed that until social media, right? So
Yeah. The
I
power
mean-
just went out in Kiev.
The propaganda
screen
that's
just
coming
went
out
out.
is crazy. I don't know if it's propaganda or it can be called propaganda, but we're seeing like all sides bolster like the best of the best in social media. So, hey,
well, I was gonna ask you one last thing though about the hacking. Are you impressed?
not really. It's
Yo,
low level
they
food,
shut
kind
down
of.
all their government sites in like one switch.
They shut down
They've-
Ukraine's, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think we underestimate or overestimate sometimes the level of hacking that happens and like control that these guys have, like especially states.
So we
they have-
overestimated the security then. We think we're cybersecurity safe, but obviously
I mean, you're always going to have state actors inside each major company with access to the data. So
that's
it's
scary, man.
like there's people at Facebook who work for various governments who are able to pull up our information. Same with Twitter and ISPs, and just assume nothing's secure.
Great. So on that positive note, so we
Craig's a spy. I'm letting you know right now. Craig's a spy.
yeah.
So-
Yeah, he looks like a spy. Fuck you, Craig.
All right, boys. Till next
All right,
time.
sounds good.
All
Anything
right.
you guys
everybody.
want to plug? Make sure you guys sub to the YouTube channel if you're listening. You can
And
see our pretty
suggest names.
faces.
Wait, we need a new name.
We should change our name, even if that's part of the conversation.
I thought we agreed. Now you're putting it up for debate.
No. I'm saying one of the choices is
just like the Dougler, right? He's just like the Dougler, just flip flops all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Make a decision.
Tells us privately, let's change the names.
He's worried about he's worried about the hard right 2 listeners that we have, and that they might leave us if he changes the name.
People telling me that they listen to the podcast here and there is great. It makes my day.
I'm actually shocked. I'm shocked as well.
One day people will know your face and they'll come to you too. Now they have a chance to see who you are, Dr. Rob.
Oh. Yeah, just Rob. Rob's fine. I'll go with that.
All right, Dr. Rob. Whatever you say, Dr. Rob. Man got a fresh fade for the freaking podcast. And still couldn't get the proper camera.
My man, why are you hating? This is
couldn't get a proper camera, but got a fresh fade. All right. On that note.
Once again, the camera on your advice. I'm just going to end every technical difficulty. Peace out, guys.
Peace.